this is a national problem that it needs addressing, that you're addressing here in the state of Mississippi, and that is teen pregnancy. I was reading
Right.
this. I was reading the studies that relate teen pregnancy to poverty rates across the country, and you've taken on this as a major issue for your administration, and I guess you're supported by the legislature. I would hope you would be.
I think in large part we are, Tim. This is the one issue that, as a public official, seems to have no adversaries. I believe me, there are many times when I might take a position and people will disagree with it, and that's the course of the political exchange. But teen pregnancy, whether I'm in an African American church, which I've spoken many times, or at a chamber of commerce, or at a Republican Party gathering, no one is for this. No one has come up to me and said, I really disagree with your effort to try to slow down, stop, reduce teen pregnancy in Mississippi. And you're right. Every social indicator that we know, from dropout rate to drug, alcohol abuse to poverty, can be directly connected to teen pregnancy. It is where the stone hits the water, and the ripples, unfortunately, go out from that point.
What do you do to, is there one or two things that you think the government, obviously there's so many influences on teenagers' lives, the popular culture, the entertainment industry, peer pressure, and those kinds of things. What can a program that's instituted by, the governor's office in the state of Mississippi do to combat, what can you do?
Well, we're going to find out first the thing to do is go straight to the teenagers themselves. We've created a governor's commission, or our Healthy Teens for a Better Mississippi. So we try to attack a number of issues, number one being teen pregnancy, but also obviously sexually transmitted diseases, which happens to go along with this problem. And we've gone into the high schools and recruited students to be a part of our task force. So you've got a peer-to-peer combination. There are lots of purity campaigns that are going on throughout schools and churches, that just wait campaigns that say girls can agree to wait until they're married before they start a family. That we can push hard against males who believe that they can go out and have children and abandon those children, in effect not pay child support or not support that child in any other manner. And so we've hardened, if you will, our resolve to go out and try to find these deadbeat dads and say, if you go out and father these children, you're going to be responsible for it. We've gone throughout the state bringing together the faith-based organizations so we can start in the Sunday school rooms and in churches, and just simply beginning a public awareness campaign, talking about it. Not easy to do. A lot of people have said, as a political figure, you shouldn't take this on, but I understand the cost of and the human quality of life factor, as well as the cost of the taxpayers.
You're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Our guest this segment is Governor Phil Bryant of Mississippi, joining us on the phone. I wanted to ask you, too, about, there's this group in Wisconsin, the Freedom from Religion group, and they sent out letters to schools all over the country, and especially regions of the country that, like the South and the Heartland and the Midwest, that especially the South, that have traditionally had prayers before their football games, their high school football games. And so a lot of high schools stopped doing that because they were scared of a lawsuit by this bunch out of Wisconsin. And it seems to me like the legislature and you signed a law saying to the schools, hey, it may not, you have the freedom to, you have the freedom to express religious views in certain set. You want to comment on that?
We do. We call it the Student Religious Liberties Act, because that's what the Constitution provides for us, including students, all Mississippians, all Americans, religious liberties. And so it says a child can have a voluntary expression of a religious viewpoint before ball games, at graduations, is our belief. And one of the reasons that we did this was to try to protect our schools, give our administrators some legal support, if you will, by saying the Mississippi legislature has adopted a position of religious liberties for students in the state of Mississippi. They can organize themselves if they like to. They have the right to organize in religious-based organizations within their schools. They can have activities in public schools that are faith-based. They can write research papers, if you will, on faith-based beliefs and religious beliefs. So our idea was to say to school superintendents, you have the full faith of the state of Mississippi standing behind you because we believe this is constitutional, and we're going to express so in the codes of the laws of the state of Mississippi.
I just never quite understood that whole deal because I couldn't find anybody, and maybe they are out there, who objected to a moment of prayer at a high school football game on Friday night. And so there was nobody hurt because nobody was complaining about it. And yet you got this group out of Wisconsin, intimidating all these high schools, across the country.
That's right. And I think atheists have an agenda, too. I mean, their goal is to drive religion out of the schools, out of the public square, out of every board meeting, courtroom. That, unfortunately, is their intent, and I think we have to stand against it.
Right?
Governor, on a related note, we've been following day by day these religious liberty cases in different states. Up in Oregon, I believe the florist who got in trouble because they didn't want to provide flowers for a gay wedding, and then down in New Mexico, the couples run the bakery, and they lost a case at the New Mexico Supreme Court because they did not, because of their religious convictions, want to provide these, the wedding cakes for a gay couple getting married, when there are many other florists and many other bakers in Oregon and in New Mexico. I think these cases are going to happen more and more around the country. My question to you is, what can states do in a legal constitutional way to protect the rights of religious people in the marketplace?
Well, of course, there's a number of things. They must pass laws. As we did here in Mississippi, you must pass a law that says it is intent of the legislature for this to become law, that particular individual has the religious freedoms to express. And he has a right as an independent businessman to make those particular decisions based on his faith. And so once you codify that into law, at least it gives them some additional support to say it is state law that I have a right to express my religious freedom. That might be hanging a cross in his window at Easter or Christmas time, putting a nativity scene up in his business. Again, there is nothing within in fact, the Constitution specifically provides religious liberties for individuals.
We've been talking to Governor Phil Bryant of Mississippi. Phil, thank you so much for your time and your leadership on these issues we've talked about. I think they're very important, and I think it's an example for other governors around the country to take some leadership here on these issues too. And thank you so much for being with us.
Tim, thank you, and thank you so much for what American Family does for all of us.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate
God bless.
it. Okay, that's Governor Phil Bryant of Mississippi. Assuming he was in Jackson, the state capital, but I don't know that for sure. Like many governors, he travels a lot.